Hey everyone, welcome to 30 Flirty and Nerdy. Today I have the wonderful Lindsey Bisch here with me. Lindsey and I went to high school together, we did theater together, that's how we knew each other, and we just kind of grew up with each other in, high school and then some of college and everything like that. So I'm really happy that Lindsey is on the podcast today because she has an amazing story to share with you all about how she followed her childhood dream, and as Lindsey liked to call it, dream of dreams. And I am just so excited to get started because it's super cool. And yeah, so what Lindsey does is Lindsey does molding for different projects around the world type of thing. And Lindsey can explain more of that. So Lindsey, can you please tell the friends here that listen what you do and a little bit of who you are?
Yes. So, hi everyone. My name is Lindsay. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the States, and had always been an art person and grew up loving art. All I wanted to do was art. And an amazing film came out when I was 11 years old called Lord of the Rings that absolutely changed my life. I thought it was the coolest thing, most beautiful thing on the planet. So many incredible props and weapons and armor and these beautiful creatures and beautiful landscapes, miniatures built. At the time, obviously, when I was 11, I didn't know all that terminology, but I just thought it looked stunning. And when they released that film on DVD, they also released a behind the scenes how they made Lord of the Rings. And then I realized that working in film was an actual job and building these things was a job. And I had a pipe dream that I want to do that. That is all I wanted. I want to work on Lord of the Rings. At, at 11 years old, I wanted to fly to New Zealand and see how I could go and help in New Zealand.
And I love that because anyone that knows you knows Lindsey, Lord of the Rings. Like that's how it is. Like you do cosplay with Lord of the Rings, you do like all different things. Like your whole theme about you is Lord of the Rings, which is super cool and super fun. And it's subtle too sometimes. So it's like, you like wear little things here and there. That's kind of Lord of the
Mm.
Rings, but it's like if you don't really know what Lord of the Rings is, you wouldn't understand it type of thing.
Yeah,
And that's what I love about you is that you're so authentic in what you love and your passion for it that it just radiates and you're like, yeah, 100%. Like that's me. And so you mentioned that you saw like, a behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings and how they made everything and it sparked your interest. And so you wanted to do art. What made you go into the molding aspect of it? Was it because of the Lord of the Rings, or was it because of like something else with molding that you found really interesting? Because Lindsey is a molding artist. So like what drew you to that medium?
well, um, that's a big question. So I feel like it goes back to when I started working at in film. Basically, the first job I was hired for was to be part of the molding team. And that was my first hands-on experience in film. And basically, I was able to continue on in there. Molding is fascinating. It is so technical, and you have to know all about your chemicals, you have to know all about your ratios, you have to know you can't mix two improper products, and timing is everything.
So there's a science behind all of it.
Yes.
That's
And it's really creative, so you have to have a creative flow to it as well. So it's all encompassing. It's really interesting,
yeah.
especially when you get really complicated.
Yeah, because Chanel, when I was hanging out with her recently, she's like, Lindsey came over and she taught me how to mold. And she's like teaching me all these things. And she was showing me like what you made her or like what you were
Yeah.
working on together. I'm like, that's so cool. But I'm like, how does that even work? So it's
Yeah.
cool to know that like there's a whole science behind it.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's very, it's very complicated. So at university, I decided to get an art degree. I had a concentration in printmaking and sculpture. But when I left university, I came back to Vegas, and my first job straight out of university was working with a laser cutting company, which was really interesting because they had this beautiful giant laser cutter, and they began to teach me Corel Draw, which is an older program now, but kind of learning things like that. But that entire job was worked for free, so it wasn't sustainable.
Kind of like an intern position.
Yes, yes, pretty
Okay.
much, yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, I went into retail because I needed to make money, of course. And from there, I left retail and I was working in FedEx for a while. And basically, as you can guess, working in FedEx and retail was amazing. They were great jobs, but really wanted to be creative in an artistic kind of way. And I started by a friend meeting me, having a meeting with me and some of his friends. I was introduced to Amanda and Ian, who run Show Creative Studios in Las Vegas, and they wanted to create a business life casting people and asked if I wanted to help them start the business. So, which was amazing, such a cool opportunity. And thank you so much, Amanda and Ian, because that was the catalyst for everything. But yes, we worked for 3 years creating this life casting company, which was awesome. So much fun, so many cool projects. We met so many incredible people and got to develop this entire casting, molding process. And unfortunately, the work wasn't very consistent, and I couldn't solely work off that. And to be honest, my life at the time I was having a really hard time personally. I wasn't kind of fulfilling my art degree. I was feeling a lot of pressure from family, lots of pressure from friends. I had a lot of toxic relationships around me that I didn't really understand were toxic. And I kind of lost sight of myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. And somebody asked me if I could do anything, what would I do? And I said, well, I would go to New Zealand and try and work at Weta Workshop. And after a lot of encouragement, I decided that's actually what I want to do. And so I saved money for myself to go. I got a working holiday visa for New Zealand, and I bought a ticket and left. And once I arrived, I started doing little odd jobs where I was woofing, as they call it. I think it's the World Organized Organic Farming Association or something. But
Okay.
basically,
I was like, wolfing. Does that mean like you were working with wolves?
I wish. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. No, it's farming. So
Okay.
basic so basically if a family has like an organic farm on their property, it's like a trade, right? So they'll have a place for you to stay, like a guest room. You get to stay there for free. They'll feed you, but in turn, you work like 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours a day, depending on where you're at. So I was helping babysitting. I helped a raw vegan food truck, Go Purple Cat, in New Zealand, which was one of the most beautiful experiences I've also had in my life. Such a beautiful, beautiful time. And basically, I bought a car and slowly worked my way down south of the North Island of New Zealand. And my dream was to try and work at Weta, and I was very happy just trying for the rest of my life. But I had made a friend on Instagram, Sanet, my friend Sanet, who I would ask some art questions to occasionally. And at one point, he asked me some art questions back, which I thought was crazy because he had all of these, people from Weta Workshop right there, at his fingertips. But he asked me some art questions, and we had kind of like a back and forth of some conversations. But while I was in New Zealand, he saw that I was traveling and said, "If you get to Wellington, please call me. It would be so cool to meet you in person. Let's grab dinner or something." In which I said, "Absolutely, that would be amazing. Yes." So we met up for dinner and it was so much fun. We're both giant nerds and love cosplaying and had a wonderful dinner. And towards the end, he said, "So when are you going to work at Weta?" And I said, "Please don't play with my emotions because that's my dream job." And he asked me, "Well, if you were to work there, where would you see yourself?" And that's when I said, "Probably molding or casting," just because of my previous experience with the life casting company. So he then tells me, "Okay, I'll find out. I'll keep you updated. I'll ask around."
You know that one person who
Just the
works
one
for the
person.
company and they, like, get your foot in the door, and that's how it happens, which is so cool and so random sometimes. And you just
Yeah.
went for dinner and you weren't even expecting that, which is so cool.
No, definitely not. So he told me that 2 weeks went by.
Mhm.
I didn't hear a word until one morning he said, "Here's an email. Email them a cover letter, your CV, your resume, your portfolio, yeah, everything. Just email him everything and immediately email me back the second you do it, and I will go and follow up and see."
He had your
So,
back, that's amazing.
yes, it was hectic. I was so excited, but also, like, gonna throw up. I was so nervous, of course. So I looked up that person, whoever it was, just because I needed to know who my audience was. I didn't know if person was gonna be like a salt of the earth kind of, person that's been in the industry for 30 years. I don't know. I don't know who my audience is. And so I looked up a LinkedIn account and it was actually Rob Skeen, who's my partner. And mind you, I hadn't known him or met him yet, but his picture on his LinkedIn, he just looked like this perfect, like, nerdy person who I would absolutely just be friends with. And I said, "This guy's a nerd and we're gonna be best friends."
And little do you know, end up becoming partners towards the
Yeah,
end, which is so cute.
yeah, little did we know. I had no idea. Yeah. So I sent off my information. I sent everything in a panic and I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh, 2 weeks, I would, like, be dying.
My budget was slowly turning to nothing
Um,
because Wellington was getting a bit expensive to stay there.
mm.
And I asked my friend Sanet, "Hey, it's been 2.5 weeks. Do you think I should stay? Should I continue my trip and go to the South Island, like taking a ferry down to the South Island, or what do you think?" And he said, "Just, you know what? Go to the South Island. If you get a call, you get a call." I said, "Okay." So I packed up everything and got in my car and got in a ferry, went down to the South Island, hiked the Abel Tasman, which is a huge, beautiful hike. And the next day I was hiking a mountain by myself and I got a phone call
On top of
saying,
the mountain?
on top of a mountain by myself. I got a phone call. Thank goodness I got a phone call. But I
Yeah.
got, but I got a phone call asking, "Hi, this is What a Workshop. We just wanted to call and ask if you were still interested in working with us."
Yay.
Yeah. So, as you know, I said, "Yes, I would absolutely love to still work there." And I was asked, could I come in for an interview? I said, "Absolutely. Can you come in tomorrow?" "Yes. Yes, I can." And they said, "What time?" I said, "How about 1?" And they said 1:30. I said, "Even better." I ran down the mountain. I ran into my car. While I was driving, I bought my tickets for the ferry and got my accommodation for the night at that hostel in Wellington. And as I drove all the way back to the ferry, I drove by into the ferry on the last ferry for the night.
That was so like that's incredible and all played out for you so well.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. So I got there, got ready. Next day I had the interview. The interview was genuinely very short. It was basically asked, we need somebody who can mold, cast, fiberglass, mix silicons, urethanes. Does this sound like something you can do? And I said, that sounds right up my alley. And they said, great, when can you start? So,
That's incredible.
yeah. Yeah, it was incredible. So from there, I had a 3-week contract to join the mold shop team at Weta Workshop. At the time, we were doing these big, beautiful molds for the Dubai Expo, the World's Fair Dubai Expo, which was supposed to come out in 2020, but they pushed it back. But it was insanity because I had never done anything like that before in my life, in which I was very crystal clear from the very beginning because I met Rob in person and he was like the head of the team. And the first day I was just trying not to, cry or drool over all of the beautiful, beautiful, cool things that they have in the workshop because it is so cool. If you're a fan, it is like the coolest thing on the planet to walk around in there. So, but as we were walking and as I was seeing the scale of what we were doing and what I was going to be helping with, I just turned to Rob and told him, look, I'm very excited and I'm going to work hard, but I have never done anything like this before. In which kindly his response was, I would be surprised if you did. So, yeah, so that was our first job. I got thrown straight into fiberglassing,
But
mixing resins, and, you know, tapping out bubbles with fiberglass mat. But basically, they needed a huge team to create these beautiful pieces that we were making. And from that team, we had about, I think they hired 25 people potentially, maybe 21, 25 people for that job. And only 2 people of those people stayed with the core crew and through all of it. And that was me and my friend Brett, but absolute insanity where I guess what I'm trying to say is I've been told that I was kept because I worked hard and I was easy to work with. It didn't matter who was working with me, it was always an easy job to work with me. And I was eager to learn and I was switched on, they say. When they explained something to me, I was able to go and do it.
mm,
And that didn't excuse, like, I did have mistakes, as of course, because I was learning. But I think what kept me there was just having a positive attitude and being a nice person to work with and being able to, dive in when it gets crazy and we're working late and it's really tough and just saying, okay, cool, let's go. Let's do it. Like, we got this. Let's go. You know.
and that is so important to have with being on a team, especially a team that does like molding and things like that, that you have deadlines and that you have to be really good at what you do. And they saw the potential in you. And the fact I think that you kind of knew what you were doing, but also you're very trainable was very like, oh, we like that of her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really awesome too. And so that team was the main team that worked on this next project that you did, right? Like the big project, or did it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we get so so with workshop we get Weta Workshop we get all kinds of projects, whether it's like museum installations, personal projects, film work, TV shows, theater. You never know. You never know what's going to come in the door, and you never know what project will be handed next. And I had just finished up working 3 years there just before we came over to England, which we will be heading back to New Zealand afterwards. But yes, we did countless projects, countless crazy cool fun things. But yes, I guess, our the the latest project to be released or that is releasing is the Rings of Power Amazon series that's coming out, which is so cool.
And that
Just
is
so
so
cool.
amazing. It's like your childhood dream coming to reality,
Yes,
which is like amazing. And when I heard
yes.
that and I saw that, I was like Lindsay did it. Like it's so cool. Like I am so like happy and excited for you that you got to work on a Lord of the Rings project. That is just so mind blowing and so cool and just so inspiring to
Yes,
hear that
yes.
you did that, because not a lot of people can say that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was, yeah, I had no idea that, you know, that was going to be a project that was going to happen. I'd heard that Amazon was talking about it, but I never knew anything about it until all of a sudden the announcement that we were going to be, creating some pieces for it. And yeah, and basically everything at some point needs to get molded. So everything comes in through mold shop. So we got to work on a bunch of beautiful pieces for the TV series.
So I got a few questions about that. The first one, what was your initial reaction when you found out that you're going to be working on this project?
That I
Yeah.
think I was speechless.
You're like,
I
what?
was speechless, but also like beaming, surely, with like a smile from like ear to ear. I just like couldn't believe that it was going to happen. Yes, so excited. So excited. And it's funny because at the workshop, being like a super duper 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 fan like myself, it's kind of like something you want to like, you want to keep on the down low. You want to be professional,
You want
at all times.
to Yeah.
So I tried my very hardest to be as professional as I possibly could, but I was so excited. I was, and anybody that did know that I was a fan was one of my friends at the workshop knew that I was a huge fan, and every chance he got, he would come over to me while I was working on something and go, you're working on Lord of the Rings, right? I'm like, I know. And he's like, don't mess it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, would you see this? I'm like, I'm not.
How long did it take you to make the molding, and were you able to keep any of the molds that you made for yourself from the show, or not at all?
So, so we made so many molds. We had some weapons, some armor, some props, some, prosthetics, lots of prosthetics as well. It was quite a lot of work. I was mostly doing weapons and armor.
I love that because you also love like weapons and
I know,
swords and
I know,
stuff.
I know, I
It's
know.
just amazing because I'm just remembering the run fair and how like you went to the swords right away and like
Yes, yes, yes.
just you working on that. I'm like, oh my God, so cool.
Again, I'm sure I look like just like a little a droplet of beaming sunshine. And I was like working on a sword or something. But yeah, yeah, like, you know, as far as like how long they took, it just depended on the which mold because each one is very complicated and usually very specific to the piece. So like a prosthetic mold is way more complicated and technical than a sword, you know. But as far as like keeping any molds, absolutely not. Oh my gosh,
No.
absolutely not. And like they're, when you work in film, you you that's like the biggest no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Like absolutely not. Like would it be the coolest thing on the planet? Yes. Would you ever do it? No, because I love my job and you respect the place you're working and like
Right.
that's just like a huge no-no.
But the cool thing is though, when you watch it, you see what you made on TV. Or like
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
so that's kind of like in a way you kind of keep that, like
Yes. You
instead of
get the memory.
you get the memory and you see it on screen like I remember making that. I almost kind of like screw that one up, but it looks great. Kind of
It looks
thing.
perfect. Yeah.
You can't see the
Yeah.
little dent that I made in there.
Yeah. Seriously though, like I feel like the most exciting part about it is watching the show currently and how stunning it is. It is absolutely breathtaking and beautiful, and I am loving every second of it. And then on top of it,
Mhm.
you'll see something in the background and be like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, we did that. We did. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah."
That's
So, and
so
like,
cool.
and just so you know, like, what a workshop did some pieces on it, but there was a whole huge collaboration of people all over New Zealand, all over the world, that many different studios all came together to make Rings of Power what it is. Yeah. It wasn't definitely like just us specifically. It was a lot of places.
That is still really cool though that you got to work on weapons, which is like one of your favorite things.
Yes. Yeah, it was really exciting. Yeah.
And your name is in the credits.
My name is in the credits.
What was
That's
like that photo that I saw you in with like my name? I was like, like my heart just kind of like fluttered for you because I'm like, that is
I feel honestly like, I'm genuinely still processing it because obviously I was so excited. Couldn't believe that I made it. Because credits credits are actually really difficult. They don't really represent exactly how many people poured in so much hard work. It's
so you
basically like a
were one out of a few people or like a lot of people to be on there.
it's yeah, so it's a time thing. So whoever has the most hours working on this project, you know, because it shows like Rob Skeen as the team lead mold maker, but then it also shows, three people in mold shop. And we have, I think, seven people when we were doing the project, and everybody was helping at one point, and for only three to get in is, such a heartbreak because all of us did work on it, at some point or another, and all of us did a lot of work on it at a lot of points. But thankfully, I had enough hours, pretty much. Thankfully, I had enough hours that, just bumped me up the list of who worked on it the longest, and who put in the most, you know, hours, I guess, man hours to the project. But yeah, I didn't know if I was going to be credited at all. And once I saw it, I was honestly speech again, just really speechless and almost like completely relieved because I felt like I just had like this like pipe dream for so long, and just chasing it and, getting there and getting able to work with so many incredible people. I mean, I was working with people who worked on the original Lord of the Rings. I was working with people who worked on The Hobbit as well, and I was working
I got goosebumps.
yeah, I'm working in collaboration with all these people, these amazing artists, some of the best artists in the world, and, I honestly, I just feel really lucky, and I feel really honored that I was even able to take part in it. I loved all of it so much, and I still do, and I'm still just so excited, and it's so the coolest thing ever. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Oh, that's just I love hearing your story and how you got from point A to point B and it took so long, but the fact that you're able to do it and that you're able to be like, I did it. I on the credits of a show that I worked so hard on and a series that I loved, like that has to be inner child healing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, of course, I just can't I always kept thinking 11-year-old me would lose her mind if
It's
she knew
kind of like
even
that.
3-year-old me, because you
Yeah.
know,
It's kind of like
like
that meme where it's like those what is it like that meme on like Instagram where they're like, "Oh, I can't believe I have to go to work to do this like, computer coding." I don't know. Or like
yeah,
what is
and it
it?
shows, like, a younger version of them, like, "Wait,
Yeah.
we get to do computer coding?"
Yeah, and so with you it's like, "Wait, I gotta be on Lord of the Rings show?" Like that's
Yes.
just so cool. Like such like a full circle moment and just a beautiful message to people that like if you have a dream, no matter how big it is, you can get there one way or another. You just have to be creative in how you get there and kind of be a little bit of luck to know people, but at the same time, like be open to opportunities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, knowing Sanet on Facebook on Instagram, sorry, was so such a shot in the dark that I just said, I'm gonna try and see who even works at Weta Workshop. Who works there, what artists are there, who's doing stuff. And, thankfully, Santa is a huge person in the cosplay community around the world. And he just came out with a book as well, like just building cosplays. Stunning book, but it's just wild that I was able to just chat with him freely and he was open to chatting and, you know, kindly saw that I was in New Zealand and sent me a message and said, "Hey, it'd be lovely to meet up."
I love that. So
Yeah.
I think my last question for you today then, because
Yeah.
everything you said just was so, so great, and I know so many people would resonate with it, but we are running low on time,
Yep. Yep.
and I don't want to keep you too late because I know how late it is over there.
It's you can keep me if you need to. Yes.
Thank you. Well, my last question for you is, what advice would you give your younger self about being 30 or turning 30? What advice would that be?
The advice I would give to myself, a younger version of myself, is that you can do anything you want. There's no rules, really, on the grand scheme of things. I feel like that we get in a lot of ruts because we have societal pressures, cultural pressures, family pressures, friend pressures, these wild pressures that we put on ourselves to fulfill some kind of the right thing to do. But really, you can do whatever you want. People tell me I can't, I could never go to New Zealand. And I just tell them, just buy a ticket. And there's a big disconnect because people think it's way more complicated than that. Uh, but at the same time, if that's what you want, you can do that. And you can always go back to what you're doing. You can always go back to the same city, same place, same friends, same job, probably, same everything. But just if you've got a dream or if you have something that you want to do, if you want to travel, if you want to try a wild job somewhere, just try it. Who knows? You might get it.
Might be a shot in the dark, but it can be yours if you just try.
Yep, absolutely.
That was so beautiful. Thank you so, so much for that and for coming on and sharing your story and sharing how you had a pipe dream that turned into reality. And I just so blown away by you and I love you so much. And thank you so much for being on here. And I'm so, so happy that we got to talk about this because it's so cool. You're so cool. So thank you.
Thanks so much. And I'm so proud of you for doing this podcast. That's so cool. When I saw you were doing a podcast, incredible. So
Oh, thank
the
you.
feeling is mutual. I'm so excited for you and watch us change the world. Who knows?
Yes, thank you so, so much.
Yes.
Hey friends, thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment to follow and review this podcast so it could reach others. Also, if you leave a review, I'll be sharing your review in the next episode. Lastly, if you want to be part of this growing podcast, chat about your life, your profession, passions, or if you have advice that you wish you had at 30, please sign up at the link provided in the show notes. I would love to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.